People always ask me the same thing when I mention Norway. Isn't it like insanely expensive? And yeah, I get it. Norway has this reputation. $100 train tickets, $30 sandwiches. But here's the thing nobody tells you right now. The Norwegian Krone has tanked, like properly dropped. And if you're paying in dollars or euros or francs, Norway is actually cheaper right now than it's been over a decade. I just ran the numbers on a full 5-day trip. Oslo to Bergen, Fjords, trains, food, everything. And I'm gonna show you exactly what it costs, where people waste money, and the hacks that locals actually use. Not the tourist version, the real one. Alright, let's talk about why Norway suddenly isn't the financial nightmare it used to be. The Norwegian krone has dropped significantly over the last few years. Right now, $1 gets you about 10.5 krone. What does that actually mean for you? It means a hotel that used to cost you $200 a night is now more like $160. A train ticket that was $40 is now $28. The country hasn't changed. The exchange rate has. And if you're traveling from a strong currency country, this is honestly the best moment to visit Norway in over a decade. Now, let's talk timing, because when you go makes a massive difference to your wallet. Peak season is June through August. The weather's best, the days are endless, and so are the prices. Hotels spike, trains book up, everything costs more. The sweet spot, if you want to save serious money, is late May or early September. You still get decent weather, especially September, when the autumn colors start coming in, and the fjords look unreal. But accommodation drops by 20 to 30%, fewer crowds too, which means you're not fighting for space at the famous viewpoints. Winter is the real budget secret. November to March, flights and hotels are dirt cheap, but you're trading sunlight. Oslo gets maybe 6 hours of daylight in December. If you're chasing the northern lights, winter's your season. If you want fjords and hikes, late spring or early autumn is where you want to be. Transport is where most visitors bleed money in Norway, and honestly, it's where the easy wins are. First things first. Norway doesn't have one single travel pass that covers everything. Don't let that scare you though. You don't really need one. The Oslo to Bergen train is the classic route. It's 7 hours across this crazy plateau called Hardangervidda. It looks like you're on another planet, and it costs about 300 krone. That's $28 for a 7-hour train ride through one of the most insane landscapes on Earth. If you book early through VY, the Norwegian rail company, you can sometimes get it even cheaper. Now here's the first money-saving hack. At Oslo Airport, there's a fancy express train that gets you to the city in 19 minutes. It costs about 230 krone. But there's also a regular regional train that takes 23 minutes, 4 minutes longer, and costs 115 krone. Half the price, same journey, 4 extra minutes. Take the regular train every time. The fjords look. This is where it gets pricey. The famous Norway in a nutshell tour, which combines the Bergen Railway, the Flam Railway, and a fjord cruise, costs around 2,700 krone. That's about $255. It's worth it if it's your once-in-a-lifetime trip. But here's the hack. You don't need a tourist package. You can book the same trains yourself on VY and the same ferries directly through the ferry companies and piece it together for less. Especially if you use regular car ferries instead of the dedicated sightseeing cruises. Same fjords, same unreal views, just no audio guide in 7 languages. We are talking 100 to 200 krone instead of 600 to 800. Now let's talk about accommodation. Here's some genuinely good news. Accommodation in Norway is noticeably cheaper than people expect. And that weak krone is the reason. A decent 3-star hotel in central Oslo runs about 1,500 to 2,000 krone a night. That's around $140 to $190. And here's a bonus. Norwegian hotel breakfasts are famously good. We're not talking sad continental buffet. We're talking smoked salmon, fresh bread, eggs, good coffee. If you feel a bit breakfast, you've just knocked out one meal cost for the day. Hostel dorms in Oslo or Bergen are 400 to 600 krone per night. That's $38 to $57, about 20 to 30% cheaper than you'd pay in a lot of other major European cities. Airbnb studios in central Oslo go for about 8,000 to 1,400 krone a night, roughly $95 to $130. That's the real sweet spot for budget travelers because you get a kitchen. And having a kitchen in Norway might be the single biggest money saver in this entire video. For a 5-night trip, if you're doing hostels, you're looking at around 2,500 krone, about $240 total. If you're mixing budget hotels and Airbnbs, maybe 6,000 to 8,000 krone, around $570 to $760. Alright, here's the honest truth about food in Norway. Eating out is expensive. A restaurant main dish will run you 200 to 350 krone. That's $19 to $33. Coffee 45 to 55 krone. And here's the real killer. A half liter of beer at a bar is 80 to 100 krone. That's $8 to $10. Norway is literally the most expensive country in Europe for alcohol. If you like having a beer with dinner every night, you will burn through your budget fast. So here's the strategy that actually works. Norwegian supermarkets. Rema 1000, Kiwi, Coop have genuinely good ready meals. Hot food, cold salads, sandwiches. 80 to 150 krone. That's $7 to $14 for a solid meal. If you're staying somewhere with a kitchen, even better. Cook your own dinners and you're eating for a fraction of restaurant prices. And tap water? Norwegian tap water is some of the cleanest in the world. Totally free, totally drinkable everywhere. You never need to buy bottled water ever. For a 5-day trip eating mostly from supermarkets, maybe one restaurant meal as a treat, you're looking at around 700 krone for food. That's about $66. Mid-range with one restaurant meal per day, budget about 17 to 1900 krone. Now let's talk about activities. And this is honestly where Norway blows most destinations out of the water. A lot of the country's most iconic experiences are completely free. Preikestolen Pulpit Rock, that insane cliff hanging over the fjord you've seen in every Norway photo, it's free. You just pay the bus or car to get to the trailhead. Trolltanga, Gjera, same deal. These are world famous bucket list level hikes that cost nothing except transportation. If you want to do the big paid excursions, Norway in a nutshell, or Fjord tour, budget about 25 to 2,700 krone. That's $250 to $260 for a full day experience. Worth it if it's your big splurge item. But even for the fjords, there's a budget hack I mentioned earlier that deserves repeating. The tourist cruises cost 600 to 800 krone, but Norway has regular car ferries that cross the exact same fjords, same views, same water, same mountains, and they cost 100 to 200 krone, like $10 to $19. The only difference, no audio guide and no fancy cafe on board. If you're there for scenery and not the gift shop, this is the move. For a 5-day trip with one big paid activity and the rest free hiking and city exploring, budget about 2,700 krone, $255. Alright, let me give you the bottom line. 5 days in Norway per person, not including your flight, budget level. Hostel dorms, supermarket food, one big excursion, mostly free activities. Transport, about 3,000 krone. That's your Oslo to Bergen train, airport connections, and local transport. Accommodation, 2,500 krone for hostel dorms. Food, 700 krone. Mostly supermarket meals. Activities, 2,700 krone for one big fjord day. Total around 8,900 krone. That's about $840. Mid-range. Budget hotels and Airbnbs, one restaurant meal a day and a bigger activities budget, you're looking at about 15,000 krone total. around $1,450. For context, that mid-range number used to be way higher just a few years ago. The weak Krone has genuinely changed the math. Norway is not cheap, but it's also not the financial disaster people make it out to be, especially if you follow these hacks. So here's what I want you to take away from all this. Norway is one of the most beautiful places on this planet, and right now it's more affordable than it's been in over a decade. The Krone won't stay weak forever. If Norway's been on your list, this is your window. If you found this helpful, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It honestly helps the channel more than you know, and I'm building out a whole series of these real cost travel guides. Next one is already in the works. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.